All right, it's time to have a conversation now on the relationship segment. Welcome back from that break. Now, what we're going to talk about today is sharing your fears in a relationship. How much should you be sharing? I've been joined by Zoom, on Zoom by Reverend Bernie Osedua. He is a customer experience consultant and also a performance coach. Good morning, Bernie.
Good morning. Hi, David. How are you doing, sir?
I'm very well, thank you. It's good to have you with us.
Thank you for having
How
me.
are you doing yourself?
I'm doing well by the grace of God. Thank
Okay,
you.
super. Now, sharing your fears in a relationship. How much should you share at the risk of things being used against you later in life?
Um, so I think the conversation is on fear rather than secrets,
Okay.
and it's on fear rather than weaknesses.
Okay.
But what is ideal is that, for instance, I've seen many couples who feel physically safe with one another, but they still feel an immense amount of fear in talking about what their challenges are.
Yeah.
There are so many things people fear in life. I'm sorry, I didn't greet your viewers. So good morning once again to everyone at CT and also to your cherished viewers. Um, there are many things people fear in life. Change is one of that. Loneliness, failure, rejection, uncertainties, bad happenings, people getting hurt or people having the fear of being judged.
Okay.
And by virtue of this, they fear these things could happen in their lives. In a relationship, some of these fears could be more, if you like, very complicated, or if you like, very sublime. And until you've really been held to discover what some of these fears are and learn how to overcome or counter some of these things, you will actually be stuck in the very relationship in which you find yourself. This is why it's ideal that you talk about it, you are able to share with your partner, because through this you can find an immense level of connection and trust that builds between the two of you. So it's important that when it comes to fear, that must be shared. I think I would understand, like your question stated, in case it has to do with secrets, or if you like, it has to do with weaknesses that you don't want to share too much too fast, so that you won't be judged too quickly. These things then becomes very, if you like, people become cagey and too careful. But when it comes to fear, I think it's always good to have to share that.
But is it not the case that a lot of the times the things that we fear are also very much linked with us with secrets? So there are things you don't want people to necessarily know, and it generates a concern for you because you don't want it out there, so you hide it, right? What about that?
The truth is that is always a concern, whether you are in a relationship or not.
Okay.
When you got secrets, it will always breed the element of distrust, whether it's with your own siblings, or it's with your own parents, or your work colleagues. Even your employer, when they feel you are keeping something away, they might feel you are being disloyal.
Yeah.
And it's ideal that when you have, things that needs to be covered, things that you find as secrets that you don't want anyone to know, it's ideal that you manage that. And that is, I think, for me, a separate conversation when it comes to sharing your fears in relationship. Because yes, handling secrets are a whole new ball game. But then in a relationship, there are certain fears that one can be able to have, and it's ideal you share them.
Now, in terms of vulnerability, how fast is too fast? And How do we pace ourselves so that we don't feel overexposed at the end of the day?
Unfortunately, it will be difficult to be able to put a measure on how fast is too fast.
Yeah.
Because the litmus test need to be happening consistently.
Okay.
You need to be testing the waters. You need to see what your partner is able to handle. And you have to be able to know when to share what. Learning to do this is a very important element of achieving the trust, in your partner, to hear you being open and sincere with them. Because if your partner is flippant, maybe you live with a husband or you live with a wife, anytime you need to tell them the truth about certain things, you know their reaction. Based on this, you fear that telling them even some of the deep things, can hurt the relationship or break it up. Because of this, people become a bit more covering and a bit more cagey. And in that regard, it becomes very important to understand when to share what. You must constantly be having that test of your partner, being able to ensure that you are in the right frame to, start from sharing small things and see how they handle. Bring up things possibly they might not know, see how they react. All right.
Yeah.
And before you get to the weightier matters, it's ideal. That is, if you don't intend to break the relationship or to destroy it, because the truth is that no matter how much you want to be open to a person, you also don't want to share so much, exactly as you said, to be too vulnerable too quickly. And you might be destroying yourself in the attempt, because now the person walks away, but they still go away with your secret.
Yeah.
But I want to ensure that I trust you enough that you can help me, support me, cover me, uphold when I'm weak, so that we can journey through that together. But if you're not very sure and you go sharing in the name of I want to be honest and open, I think to some extent, excuse my French, you might be a bit, fully, if it's a better word to use. It's ideal that you manage that very carefully.
Okay, so you have a relationship going. The one partner starts to share again, like using your words, in an attempt to be honest and open, right? And starts to share. Then the other partner, after several months, hasn't shared anything. At what point do you say to yourself, because of course you can't, you can instigate someone to share, but then if they're not sharing of their own volition, what do you do about that? And if they're not willing to share whilst you are sharing, is there not a point where you should say, listen, I'm not saying any more until I hear something from the other side?
So, exactly so. Remember I mentioned about having the litmus test.
Yeah.
I've been of the conviction that it needs to be mutual. One person cannot always be withdrawing and then, not making deposits into the conversation. If I keep sharing, and maybe I start with the little things, I keep sharing, but you've got nothing to share, I find you very suspicious. I would think twice what else I will say or how deep I want to go.
Yeah.
But if I come with a weakness and you also admit to also start sharing what weaknesses you have, I might feel I'm in a safe place so that I don't judge you or I don't look at you differently.
Yeah.
And that is where sometimes some partners.
All right, so sorry for the technical hitch there. We've been speaking with Bernie Osedua about the conversation on sharing personal fears in a relationship. And if you're watching and you have any questions for him, kindly use the hashtag Breakfast Daily or the WhatsApp line 0550585832 for us to put it to him, and he will answer those questions for us. So wherever it is that you're watching, kindly let those messages come through and we'll ask him as we get him back on the line. Benny? Okay, it looks like we are having challenges getting him back on the line. But just for us to recap some of the things that he shared with us, basically, fears are different from secrets and things that you want to hide from somebody. Fears are your basic things that you're scared of heights, you're scared of procrastinating, you're scared of things not turning out the way you want them to turn out, you're afraid of life not, getting old, lonely. These are the things that you'll be concerned about when it comes to fears, as it were. But they are different from secrets than things that you don't want people to know. But in the same vein, even though they are just fears, fears are not just little things. They are fears for a reason. Something that concerns you, and so it's something that you want to be very cautious about and be measured in how you relay in your conversation with your other, with the partner. Don't be too hasty in sharing, but definitely share, and then also, like I said, take baby steps. As you share, also elicit feedback, and then your partner should also be sharing with you. All right, thank you for joining us on the relationship segment. We were speaking earlier with Benny Osedua, who is a customer experience consultant and a performance coach as well.